A lot of you have been asking about the shed bed and the lawn bed. Let's see what's happened over this last year. So what my first idea was to get a structure of shrubs. And indeed, this is what I did with the shrubs. I put in a Weigela, a cistus, which has actually gone crazy because I over-fertilized this bed last year. And I think this cistus has gone too leggy because of too much food. Oh, here's a Pinky Winky hydrangea. We've got to have a hydrangea there somewhere, haven't we? Pinky Winky, a Loropetalum. I've put that in because it's evergreen or ever burgundy. And the one deciduous azalea I put in this bed. Of course, I put the other deciduous azalea in the shed bed over there. These were in pots that I put in last year. They've responded nicely by sending up new growth from the base. And indeed, we've got some flowers coming, so that's nice. The other shrub I put in is this hydrangea. It's a little bit different. It's called Zorro, and it grows upright, more upright than most. I moved that from the front garden where it wasn't particularly happy. And since I've moved it, just look at the growth. Oh, and also look at those dark stems. They're known for their dark stems. Oh, it's a lace cap hydrangea. And the other shrub I've put in is a dogwood. So this is mainly for its red stems in the winter. So once it gets established, I will start pruning it appropriately to get the red stems. So let's see what else we've got in here. Now this isn't particularly planned because do you remember those plug plants that I bought last year? It was from a company, Thomson & Morgan in Britain, and I bought about 80 plug plants. I think it was this time last year or a little bit earlier for about £15. And I just wanted to give it a go. When they came, they were minute, but ever so cute. And so I grew them on and put them in the beds. Some of them, because it was a selection that I didn't particularly choose, some of them I then took out, some I've let grow, and some I'll move. So let's have a look at what happened with some of those plug plants. So one of them, and there were 6 of each of these plug plants, is the Aquilegia. Now Aquilegia can seed itself around the garden a little bit too much. However, look at this, it's quite nice, isn't it? I think those flowers are rather cute. I almost took these Aquilegia out because the euphorbia was getting a little bit smothered. But the euphorbia's past its best now, and the Aquilegia are at their best. So I thought, let's just leave them in. They may get moved next year, they may not. So we'll just do a little circle of this bed. Oh, I've just got a blackbird that's just turned up in the pond. It's amazing when I'm walking around the pond. They always want a bath. There we are. We've got Mr. and Mrs. there. Oh, he's very attentive. I love to see the birds bathing in the... There she goes. Oh, and he follows on. So they'll be making an... Oh, and what have we got now? We've got a Dunnock has arrived now. Often when one bird has a bath, they all decide, hey, I will too. And in fact, we've got the robin now. If you can just see through the wide... Oh, he's flown off. I've got a bird bath through there, a new bird bath, and he was just on there thinking about having a bath. I'm sure he'll be back a little bit later. Meanwhile, back at the lawn bed. Let's have a look at what's next to the cistus. Oh, one thing about the cistus that I really like is those flowers. They're just so cute. So many of the cistus flowers have the little spots round in various colours. The flowers don't last very long, but there are hundreds of them to come out over the summer. This is 2 different colour phloxes. Oh, these phlox. I'd never rated phloxes before, but gosh, do these flower. So I'm really keen on phloxes. And when I bought these at a garden centre, and I managed to split them straight after buying them. And so I've got some in the shed bed as well. This was part of the plug plants. So this is creeping phlox. So we've got phlox and creeping phlox. Another of the plug plants is, oh, what is it, Dianthus, is it? Sweet William. And the red on these is magnificent. So I have left them there in pride of place at the front. Fabulous red, deep red flowers. Here's another creeping phlox. I like them a little thicker than this, but I think it will thicken up over the next month, hopefully. But don't know how long they flower for. Lychnis, these have been around in the garden all over the place, so I brought this from the front garden. Rose Campion, I think it's called. One's white and one's probably red. This is a phlomis. Never had one before. Quite excited to see how it grows. I think it's called Turkish sage. Grows high. Oh, and here, oh, I like these. This is Coreopsis, yellow. So there we are. There's one there, 2 dead ones. And that one there. Oh, and that might be another one there, not sure. Those 2 there, some cat had dug them out, or something had, a fox maybe. I replanted them, but I don't think they managed. Oh, and in the background, we've got Rudbeckia and something else that I've just forgotten. So these are all the plug plants. Those didn't flower last year. They got going, but it was too late for them to flower. But they're obviously going to grow nice and big this year and flower. In the front here is a little feather Dicentra, bleeding heart. Not doing so well. I think you should be doing better than that, but of course it is slightly over now. That was just pulled from another one that I bought. You know, I try and split things as I buy them. And this has been a roaring success. This is, and I didn't know about these before, Doricum. Let's see what it says. Oh no, that's the wrong label. That is the wrong label. That says Leucanthemum that I actually pulled out. No, these are Doricum. Again, they're just past their best, but when these started to grow about 2 months ago to flower, the flowers were low down, not on the stalks, and I thought, oh, that's how they'll be. And they've just grown and grown. Really nice, so I like these. I want to get as much yellow and as much blue as possible, because I think yellow and blue goes beautifully together. This is another splitting of that feather-leafed Dicentra. I'll show you in the shed bed the main one that I split it off. Another creeping phlox. In these plugs where you get 6 of each, you get different varieties, which is quite nice. And here we have salvias. They tend to grow out and then come up. I'm not quite so keen on that. I preferred if they were solid like this, because the rain can, in fact, when we do get rain, can flatten them a little bit. So that's the lawn bed. It's I kind of need to water it, I need to mulch it, but I haven't done that yet because I'm still rearranging the plants. Quite pleased with it, it's coming along, but of course it's not the finished article. Let's have a look at the shed bed. Now with the shed bed, let's go straight over to this glorious rhododendron that I moved last year. We've got a bumblebee there enjoying the new flowers. Oh, and while we're back here, let's have a little look at the Griselinia. Here we are. So I did a video on buying these by, online through the internet, planting them up. So they're coming along. I'm going to trim them all back a little bit to thicken them up. I think sometimes with hedging, it's easy to see them growing tall and you want to get them tall as fast as possible. But I think it's important with most, particularly deciduous plants, even though these are in fact evergreen, is to cut them back by a third, thicken them up, let them grow up, cut them back by a third, because it's very easy with a hedge to have it all the leaves at the top and it thin at the bottom. So as you're growing it, there's the perfect time to keep pruning it back a third, let it grow up 2/3, back a third, so you get a nice thick hedge at the end. And that's what I will do with this. Just in front here, we have some foxgloves, looking nice and strong. And in front here is that mop head hydrangea, the pink one. Well, it was pink in the front garden. We'll see what happens with it this year. That I dug up from the front garden, split it into 5, and then popped this in. And so they've all done really well. Really pleased with them. And while we're here, I will spin round to the berberis. Starting to look nice. Now I know that berberis is an invasive plant in some parts of the world, but in Britain it's not. It's thorny, often used as a security hedge. This one's pretty and it's got yellow flowers. This is an epimedium. These are nice when all the leaves are lying nicely. Oh, and behind here, this is a, what's it, yarrow? Achillea. Not keen on the Achilleas really, because I've grown them before and they wouldn't stand upright. Again, this was part of the plug plant selection. But I'm going to leave, I've dug some of them out, but I'm leaving this one to see what happens. Here's the wall with the ivy-leafed toadflax. The erigeron, the Mexican fleabane behind, and a little hazel tree. This was new to me. Bought it because it was yellow. I'm trying to get as much yellow and then blue as possible over the years. I'll have that combination. Really like it. Last year was actually better, its first year, and I'm wondering whether I over-fertilised this bed. I did put some fertiliser all over the bed and it's gone a bit leggy. And I've tried to cut it back, as you can see here. I've cut these back as a test to see if it will grow again from the base, and it's not looking as though it will. So it's only its second year and it's looking leggy. So we'll see what happens with that. Here's some penstemons. These also were the plug plants, about 6 different varieties of penstemons. More creeping phlox here. And I popped one over here. This one actually hasn't flowered, a creeping phlox not flowering. Oh, and here are the phloxes that I pulled off from the main phlox to get more for my money. A nice heuchera. And down here, in fact, the heuchera is starting to swamp it, is another hydrangea paniculata called Phantom. This is a biggie. I don't think anything will be swamping that. And here is the main plant of that feather-leafed Dicentra bleeding heart. Oh, another type of euphorbia. I'm new to euphorbias. So, yeah, I like it. Also, I have noticed that it sends off little runners. Here's a little runner. And I've just dug some of them out and potted them up. So there is the shed bed. Of course, we've got to have an azalea somewhere, haven't we? So there's one azalea, and then here's a little, is it an azalea or a rhododendron? It's called Wren, yellow one. Oh, and here are these forget-me-nots. Now, we did have one last year that you all noticed, and I hadn't named it. You've got to be careful with these because they spread like crazy. So, yeah, I might cut a lot of that back and pull some out. Behind it, grown wild here, is Honesty. It's a white Honesty. The climbing hydrangea, it had its first flower last year, and now it's decided it's doing well. It's going to do well, so it's flowering more now. And here is that other deciduous azalea that came out of the pot last year. This is all as per before. Oh, apart from the what is it? The kind of purpley hydrangea that I put in last year. Some Welsh poppies, London Pride, and the Chinese creeper, Virginia creeper. Not a particularly invasive one, the Chinese Virginia creeper. So I'm happy to let it go along over the shed. And we come down to the Clematis montana, which is over now. Because I wanted to paint this shed, I cut this montana right back. I think it's, oh, here we are. It was down to about here. And so all this is new growth. And I think what I'll do is probably cut it back to about there to try and thicken it up again. Thank you very much for watching. There is an extended tour of my back garden to bring you up to date, and we'll see what happens next in Paul T's world. Bye.